Okay, conflict and negotiation. Let's consider a hypothetical. Let's say you and your partner in crime are picked up by the police for questioning on a minor charge. In order to charge you with a more serious crime, police must try to get one to testify against the other. Separated during questioning, you both weigh your alternatives. If neither confesses, both of you will get a light sentence. If both confess to being guilty, you will both receive moderate sentences. But if one confesses and the other stays silent, the confessor will get total immunity for prosecution, while the silent one will pay the maximum penalty. This forms the basis for a research paradigm known as the prisoner's dilemma. Each of you is better off selling out your partner, except if both of you do so, right? In which case, you are both burned. What would you do? The prisoner's dilemma plays out in many situations in life. Soldiers are better off individually if they duck for cover, but if they all do, they will all be slaughtered by the enemy. People caught in a fire are better off individually if they make a run for the door, unless they all do, in which case a bottleneck causes more to die. Nations are better off if they stop spending money and resources on nuclear weapons, but none wants to risk falling behind. There are three major views regarding conflict and negotiation. The deterrence view is the belief that any sign of concession will be viewed as a weakness and exploited by the other side. Aggression and using military strength is perceived as necessary preventative measures to stop the other side from aggressing. People who hold a deterrence view are less likely to support nuclear disarmament. The spiral view is the belief that any escalation of threat or act of aggression leads the other side to feel more threatened and retaliate, and that leaders need to demonstrate peaceful intentions in order to reduce the other side's defensive hostilities. People with this view are more likely to support nuclear disarmament. Makes sense? Each view is correct sometimes and then incorrect in others. This emphasizes the importance of leaders who are thoughtful, wise, and have adaptive rather than consistent styles. So remember that need for flexibility, right? Social psychologist Charles Osgood proposed an alternative, one that is conciliatory yet strong enough to discourage exploitation. He nicknamed it GRIT, which stands for Graduated Reciprocated Initiatives and Tension Reduction. And it goes like this. The initiator states a desire to reduce tension. He or she declares intent to make a few small de-escalatory actions and invites reciprocation. He or she builds credibility, genuineness, and trust by following through on their part. Here's a good review question. Which powerful social influence technique does this rely on? Think about it. What do you think? And the answer is the reciprocity norm. Once both sides follow through, the initiator offers a few more, and so on. But does it work? It clearly works to reduce tension between individuals. When individuals are upset and not talking, it often only takes a soft answer, a warm smile, or a gentle touch to prompt healing steps. This is true in international relationships as well. Here's an example. In 1963, about 20 years into the Cold War, Kennedy made a speech called A Strategy for Peace. He noted that our problems are man-made and can be solved by man. He announced the U.S. was stopping all atmospheric nuclear tests and would not resume unless another country did. Russia's leader responded, announcing a halt of strategic bombers. There soon followed a number of looped conciliatory gestures, and for a significant time period, relations were eased between the two countries. Unfortunately, people on both sides often have a competitive win-lose orientation, believing they are only successful if the other side is unhappy with the result, and unsuccessful only if the other side is pleased with it. Now you may be thinking, what losers, because of what you've learned about conflict and negotiation so far. But truthfully, when is the last time you bargained with a car dealer, keeping his or her interests in mind and trying to come up with a solution for which you can both feel like winners? The impulse to view conflicts with a win-lose mindset is so prominent, it takes three things to avoid it: education, motivation, and effort. About 20% of the time, win-lose mindsets escalate into lose-lose results. Groups are so intent on making sure the other side gets a raw deal, they accept a raw deal themselves to ensure it. In the weeks before the Persian Gulf War, the first President Bush threatened, in the full glare of publicity, to kick Saddam's you-know-what. Saddam Hussein, no less macho, threatened to make infidel Americans swim in their own blood. After such belligerent statements, it was practically impossible for each side to evade war and save face. Exceptional leaders encourage both sides to set aside their conflicting demands and instead to learn and consider each other's underlying needs, interests, and goals. This can often bring surprising win-win solutions to mind. A classic metaphor involves two sisters who quarreled over an orange. Finally, they compromised and each took half. One squeezed juice from her half to drink, the other used the peel of her half to make a cake. If they had taken the time to learn each other's interests and goals, they could have both walked out with twice as much, and a much better relationship to boot. Mediators are trained to seek out mutually beneficial win-win solutions. Many studies have shown that leaders can be trained to better seek out such solutions, but this requires that leaders have three important qualities: patience, respect, and a thoughtful nature. Unfortunately, these are not always qualities on which people base their leadership votes.